Let's learn how to solve triangles. So we're going to talk about what does it mean to solve a triangle and then how do we solve a triangle. So let's get ready. You're going to need notes, pencil, calculator, or you could use desmos.com/scientific. That's also got the sine, cosine, tangent, and inverse to help you do these. So just some reminders. When we label a triangle, our uppercase letters represent our angles, and then across from the side is the lowercase a, across from C is the lowercase, and across from B. So our sides are lowercase. So what does it mean to solve a triangle? It means that it's asking you to find all of the angle measures and all of the side measures. So you'd start with a labeled drawing, see what you're missing, see what you need to find out. And if you have to find out the sides, you can use them maybe by doing the Pythagorean theorem if you have two sides, so Pythagorean theorem. Or if you don't, maybe you have a side and an angle, then you can do right triangle trig, our sine, cosine, tangent, to figure the other sides out. You could find your angles by using, well, if you have two of them, maybe you could just use the triangle sum theorem, that all angles add to 180. That would be helpful. Or maybe you have to use inverse trig. And remember, we use inverse sine, inverse cosine, inverse tangent when we don't know the angle. So let's go ahead and try to solve this. So here I have one side and one angle. Technically I have two angles because I do have the right angle there. So I can just subtract from 180, and I know that angle A is going to equal 65. So I can use that. Now I'm going to switch over and I'm going to try to solve side B. I'm going to use the angle that I know and the side that I know, but I don't know B. So that means that's opposite and adjacent. So I'm going to do the tangent of 25 equals b over 8. I want to solve for the b, so right now I'm dividing by 8, so I'm going to multiply everything by 8. So I'm going to have b equals 8 tangent of 25. Type that into your calculator. For the sides, we'll go to 1 or 2 decimals. So this is going to be 3.73 meters. And now I could switch to Pythagorean theorem. I'm just going to stick with right triangle trig. So I'm going to go back to my 25. I have my adjacent, which is 8, and I'm looking for my hypotenuse. So that's going to be cosine. So I'm going to do the cosine of 25 equals 8 over c. Here I'm dividing by c, so I'm going to multiply both sides by c. A little tricky there, but I get c cosine 25 equals 8. So now I want to divide everything by cosine of 25, and c equals 8 divided by cosine of 25. Put that into your calculator and you're going to get about 8.83. So I solved for angle A and I solved for side B and side C, and now we've solved the entire triangle. We know all of the pieces just from knowing two angles and a side. Let's try this one. So here we can see that we have two sides. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out angle G first. So knowing that I have opposite and hypotenuse, that's going to be sine. So I'm going to do the sine of G equals 7 over 18. And this time I don't know my angle, so I need to use inverse trig. So I'm going to do angle G equals sine inverse of that fraction, 7/18. So make sure you're hitting the inverse button first, so inverse sine of that. And we find angle G to be 22.88. We are going to round to whole numbers for our angles. So angle G is 23. I can go right to angle D by doing triangle sum and doing 180 minus 90 minus 23. And this is going to equal 67. And now I have one more thing I can solve for D. So I could go to Pythagorean theorem. We could do 7 squared plus d squared equals 18 squared. That's 49 plus d squared equals 324. D squared equals 275 when I subtract the 49 over. Take the square root of both sides and you get about 0.58 there. So we've done Pythagorean theorem, you know how to do it. Or you could just use cosine. I'm going to go with adjacent and hypotenuse. So I'm going to do the cosine of 23 equals d over 18. Multiply both sides by 18, so d is going to be 18 cosine 23. And d equals 16.57, the same thing. I think that cosine here was easier than the Pythagorean theorem, but that is your option. So we've solved that triangle fully. We found our angles and our sides. So just a reminder that when you're asked to solve a triangle, it needs to make sure you know all three sides and all three angle measures. Nice work.